Okay, today we're going to learn about perimeter, area, and circumference. This should be a review, but I do want to go over the notes quickly. It will be very short. So please, in your composition books on the right-hand side, go ahead and write perimeter, area, and circumference. When we're dealing with equations or formulas where we work with perimeter, area, and circumference, what you're going to see for a perimeter is an uppercase P. And for area, it'll be an uppercase A. And for circumference, it's an uppercase C. So let's just look at some various shapes. You're very familiar with this. It's a really quick review. So first we'll look at a square. So we know a square has 4 sides and that all those sides are equal, and I'm going to indicate that by putting those lines. They're equivalent. And a square has 90-degree angles, so we do the little 90-degree angles. And let's just write square. So let's talk about the perimeter. Perimeter is basically just the distance around, so I put a large P to represent perimeter. And if I went all the way around, I could add up all my sides. But remember that multiplication is just adding again and again and again. So let's change it into a multiplication problem. So we have 4 sides, and we're going to multiply that by the amount of that side. So say the side is 2 inches, then it would be 2 times 4, which is 8 inches. Let's look at area of a square. And the area of a square is just like a rectangle, length times width. But because it's the same amount on a square, each side, we're just going to put side squared, because that means we're multiplying it, and that's where that term squared comes from. Okay, now let's look at a rectangle. That's a little different from a square, because you have 2 sides that are equivalent and 2 other sides that are equivalent. So I'm going to indicate that by putting those equivalent signs there, and then these 2 sides are equivalent to one another, and remember they have right angles as well. So we have our right angles, and let's just write rectangle up here. And for a rectangle, the perimeter is similar to a square, but because you have those different sides, you can't necessarily do just a simple multiplication problem. You're going to have 2 multiplication problems. So your perimeter is this side plus this side, which we could say is 2 times L plus 2 times my width. Remember your order of operations when you do these problems. You want to multiply first, then add. And the area of a rectangle, we can't put side squared because not all the sides are the same. So we're going to say length times width. Alright, now let's look at a triangle. So we know a triangle has 3 sides. And let's label those sides A, B, and C. And when dealing with triangles, we also have to talk about their height. So I have my H there for height. And you have to make sure that the height is at a right angle so that it's straight up and down. And go ahead and write triangle. So perimeter of a triangle is just adding up all the sides because you're going from here to here to here. So I'm going to have A plus B plus C. If this is on a coordinate grid and you don't have a straight line, a vertical or a horizontal line, and you have something with a slope, slant to it, what you need to do is think about using the distance formula to find how long that is if they don't give it to you. So I'm going to put in parentheses distance formula for missing sides. And we just learned the distance formula. Okay, for your area, it's a little different because a triangle is really half of a rectangle or a square. So the area for a rectangle is length times width. But if we looked at our triangle, we're going to say base times height, but it's half of that because it's half of that rectangle. So you go base times height divided by 2. And then let's look at our circle. So we have this nice little circle there. I have a dot in the middle, and we have a line coming out which we call the radius. So to find the circle, first write circle, to find the perimeter of a circle, basically that's also called the circumference of a circle. So all the way around, circumference. You're going to multiply 2 times pi times your radius. Really doesn't matter what order you put those in because you're just multiplying. And now let's look at area. So area of a triangle is going to be pi r squared. Order of operations is important here. You want to do your radius squared first before you multiply times 3.14. And let's talk about pi a little bit. Pi, and here's the symbol for pi, is actually the ratio, which is the fraction, the ratio of the circumference to its diameter. So that's how they came up with that. They started dividing the circumference and the diameter, circumference and diameter, and they came up with that pi formula. When you're doing area, so I'm going to go back up to this right here. Whenever you do area, your units are squared. So you're going to have that little 2. When you're doing perimeter, it's just plain units. And circumference is just plain units. So basically that's all you need to know for the lesson today. Make sure that you have your formulas ready to go when you come into class. Thank you.